could have Beyond. All right. All right, you guys are in luck. I just recorded for a really long time and I hated the first half of the video. So I'm going to re-record that. So you guys get take number 2, the new and improved version 2.0. So this is my SRS Guardian. I've been playing it for a week. I absolutely love it. I have done 80% Delirious Beyond maps, everything except for Ubers. I'm scared of losing my Spectres and my AG and Ubers. I probably shouldn't be. I think I made them very, very tanky, and I'm going to talk about that. That's the first thing we're talking about. Don't think they would die in most Ubers, but because they cost money, I'm a little scared of it. And I want to talk to you guys about the changes that I made here. We're going to focus specifically on the Spectres and the AG first, and then the second half of the video that I'm not re-recording will be going over all the gear and all that. Spectres and the AG. Spectres are incredible. Everyone's playing them right now, even Deadeyes, Tornado Shot Deadeyes and everything. They're trying to fit them in. They're trying to keep them alive. Luckily for us, since we're a minion build, we can keep them alive pretty well. The ones that I'm using right here, we're going to go over the list of what is good. Oh, also, just a quick little overview. I am currently, this is a rough estimate because I'm manually typing in the Spectre buffs and everything. I'm currently over 30 million DPS. I feel very tanky, tankier than these numbers even look like. I am staying alive very, very well. I haven't died in 2 days now, and I'm doing the hardest content that I can do. Full Vivid, Wildwood Empowered, Delhi Beyond, everything. My choice of Spectres that I'm using right now is a balance of offense, defense, and budget, because there's one that I would like to use that currently costs about 4 divines. The most important one that I want to focus on right here, though, is the Kaduku, the Spirit of Fortune. What he does is gives you a very, very strong Wrath Aura. It's actually even stronger than the one that you get from Unwavering Crusade by quite a bit, like almost double strength from the your Unwavering Crusade one. And the big thing that he does is lucky lightning damage. So this is actually more of a lightning damage than fire or cold now. It's actually much more lightning damage. When combined with the hulking miscreation, this is the heist, whatever, Argus dog thing, and you'll see him doing his little buff that he casts pretty often right here. That gives all of your raging spirits, because they count as constructs, 30% attack speed, 100% increased damage, as well as a permanent 20% fizz as extra lightning. So it makes them much, much stronger. Very, very powerful damage boost. And because it's more lightning damage combined with the Kaduku is a ton of damage. The other one that I'm using right here is the bird, the Primal Thunderbird. He gives us a very strong grace as well as lightning exposure. So, not really high uptime, but he gives us additional lightning exposure on top of the elemental army. So that actually just is really good uptime of our exposure right there. And then the last one, this guy right here that is screaming all the time. I have the game muted because he's always screaming. This is Oak from Act 2, our little buddy, the Bandit Lord. He's giving us over 100% uptime on our endurance charges. He's recasting it before they run out, as well as a very strong vitality, about 400 life regen per second. All that combined, again, all these buffs go on our minions as well, makes them tanky, right? We have grace and determination and endurance charges and vitality on all of our minions. In terms of the changes that I made for diverging, talking about the Spectres and the AG here, I am not using minion life anymore because I want to just get their res up, get them, take less damage in the first place, and then that allows them to recuperate their life a little bit easier. So I dropped minion life support right here. And again, I've never lost an AG or a Spectre to anything besides my negligence. You can lose them, right, if you drop your gem level or something. With a level 25 raised Spectre, you get 3. And then I am now anointing Death Attunement, which gives us +1 Spectre. I am no longer anointing Inveterate. That is because I can get spell suppression on charms right here, and Prime List is the only choice. We don't even think of the other ascendancies. We get our max spell suppression very, very easily here, and that allows us to drop Inveterate and go to Death Attunement. Meat Shield and Elemental Army, that now they have 88 all res, gives them a ton of defense against elemental damage. And then the Animate Guardian, what he is wearing, he's mostly still the same gear from the build guide. He's using the Dying Breath, the Leer Cast, the Legacy of Fury, and then the two changes that I made are the Garb of the Ephemeral and the Gravebind gloves. So Garb of the Ephemeral right here, nearby allies' action speed cannot be modified below base value. You and all of your minions are freeze and chill immune entirely, as well as anything else that would lower your action speed. And then, very, very importantly, nearby enemies cannot deal critical strikes. Not only do you not take extra damage from crits, but you also can't be crit in the first place. They're not going to be doing crits anyway, which means that you're not going to be doing, unless they have chance to ignite, they're not going to be igniting you. They're not going to be freezing you, chilling, shock, anything. Really, really huge for just stopping elemental ailments in general and just taking way less damage. And again, it works for all of your minions. So that is a great defensive layer for all of them. And then the Gravebind gloves, what these do is gives a little bit of chaos res. The other thing they do is nearby enemies killed count as being killed by you instead. And then on your AG, because he has the Legacy of Fury, which have an explodey effect, it actually allows you to explode the enemies as if you were wearing the Legacy of Fury, which is really cool. That is the changes that I made for the AG Inspector. The other one little change that I made is I did drop Sanctuary right here because I feel tanky enough myself personally, and I went into Grave Attentions with the Minion Defense Mastery. And that's how they have 88 all res. So +8 from here, and then another +5 from Elemental Army, giving them 88 all res. And then this also gives them 20% life as energy shield, as well as a lot of chaos res. So that is how they stay so tanky and so alive. My Animate Guardian has 42,000 life. He had a little bit more, but I had to drop this point. Blessed Rebirth right here. Feasting Fiends is not ideal. There's a couple other, I think Dread March would be better for 10% PDR. Outside of Ubers, I think, there's a couple Uber encounters. I would definitely drop in Convocation. I've done all the regular bosses. I've unlocked everything. Got all my Void Stones, 115. Got all my favorite maps. Never lost an AG or Spectre. Incredible damage. Again, I'm over 30 million DPS or so. Really, really, really solid. And that's what I recommend. A couple other Spectres, and all this will be in the notes in the POB below. Also be notes for 6-linking your Lightning Coil and all that. Other Spectres that you can go for, the Judgmental Spirit. She has a very strong added fire damage to skeletons, which your SRS also count as well as a Discipline Aura. She's not incredible. It's like 250 flat fire damage, maybe 300, which is really good, especially since we're leaning into lightning damage more. Not the best thing in the world. She's a really good shotgun attack, though. I think she actually does really good damage on her own. Blasphemer, which is a big skeleton. He has a huge smite aura. It's like 600 flat added lightning damage. This is the next one that I would add in if I had +1 Spectre. The one thing about it is when you have Meat Shield, he won't really use it very often. You kind of have to goad him into attacking by shield charging or frost blinking onto the enemies, and then he'll do his attack as well. And so the uptime of his smite aura, it's not very high. The Naval Captain, he is like Kunkka from Dota. He has a precision aura, which we don't really have to worry about. You can check your SRS precision by going to Kelks, going to the drop down, summon Raging Spirits, show minion stats, and then right here, make sure that accuracy says 100%. Once your Raging Spirits are high enough level, then they get so much accuracy just from level. So, mine are 27 right now. I probably don't even need the accuracy that I have on one of my jewels. I bet you I could drop this and probably still have plenty. So that's not why we use them. The +10 fortification is 10% less damage taken from hits. And that is why we use, it's the Naval Officer, actually, is his name. That's why we want to go for the Naval Officer. And then you can use a charm that says cannot be stunned if you're fortified, and then you're stun immune, and then you can change your Pantheon right here. But unfortunately, he is 4 Divines. I would replace the Oak right here, the Screaming Perfect Warlord. I would replace him with the Naval Officer if I wanted to spend the 4 Divines. That is the next level to upgrade the Spectres. And then if you want a very, very cheap one, again, I would probably replace the Oak for defense. The Meat Sack is very cheap. He's 1 to 2 chaos right now. He will give your minions 40% increased life. All of them. AG, Spectres, and your, all of them, even your Sentinel of Radiance. Again, I've done pretty darn hard content, 100% quant rolled up feared, 80% deli plus beyond maps, full going into the caverns and powering them up through the wildwood and everything. And I've never even seen their HP go down more than a couple pixels. Like, they can just face tank everything. Ubers are a totally different thing. Ubers have crazy damage scaling. I would not be surprised if they could die in there. I'm scared of losing them. I don't want to, but I think they're probably tanky enough. I actually think they probably would live through Ubers. Most of them, like I think, Uber Maven would probably kill them. Uber Cirrus, would probably kill them. I think most of the other ones are fine. I think Exarch and Eater are probably totally fine. Cortex is probably 50-50, depending on the mods that you get. Shaper and Uber Elder are probably fine as well. They don't have like as much of super scary degens that would just kill them. And then in terms of the charms, just quickly go over this. The prime list right here, we want to go for most mandatory is the nearby allies give you and your allies onslaught if you haven't used 5. Again, we always have a ton, especially when we have 4 specters. So that is always active. Onslaught's incredible. And then I'm just going for chance to suppress spell damage right here. I'm actually over spell suppression capped. The next one you want to be looking at is the chance to explode, because that just gives you additional explode chance, which is really good. And it does work with the Gravebind text because it says you or your minions kill. And yeah, that is all of the specters and all the AG stuff. I'm going to go to the original recording for going over the gear and the gems. Enjoy past me. Let's now go into the gear and my gear choices. I'm going to go over how I crafted them really quickly. The notes are right here. I'm mostly going to be talking about my decisions and why I'm using the items that I'm using. Also, alternate quality gems or transfigured gems, we're not using any. There aren't really any that make sense for this build, just like right off the bat. All right, wand. I bought fractured increased attack and cast speed. I used an essence of fear until I hit hybrid. I hit T2 hybrid, minion increased damage, and then crafted trigger. There's not really anything else that is really good for us here. We're not crit based. I mean, if you do find crit chance on your gear, it's not awful. It does give you a little bit more damage, but we're not scaling crit. So yeah, this is just a 2-stat wand with the fracture and then a craft. And then, yeah, I actually have, how much do I have? This is a rough estimate. So none of this is particularly accurate, but I am at around 34 million DPS right now. I don't know. I had to type in manual stuff for all the specters and everything in here. I'm at 30 million plus DPS, probably. Better would be T1 attack speed, even higher rolls of the damage and all that. The helmet, like I said, I picked this up Friday night. Like the very first thing, I bought this as cheap as I could Friday night. You're going to sense a pattern here. Essence of Envy for guaranteed Chaos Res, or if I ran out of essences or I was lazy, I did Reforge Chaos in Harvest until I just hit Life, Chaos Res, Lightning Res, something like that. Ideally, we'd hit Spell Suppression on the suffix right there as we were rolling, and then I would craft the Corel Fizz taken as fire on the prefix. But I don't have that craft, and I'd have to recraft this. That's what I want later on. That will make me significantly tankier. And then on the implicits, I went for the Fizz taken as fire. While unique enemies in your presence, minions have 28% increased maximum life. This is just more life. Get them tankier, right? So that's why I went for that. The shield, I was planning on crafting this by using bound fossils. And what I did is I regaled this, and I hit +1 all minion skill gems. Then I used a couple exalts, and I hit the other mods on there. And that's it. I crafted spell suppression. This is not, as you can see, tier 8 increased minion damage. The minion res I very much value. As I talked about earlier, I want them to be alive. I value that a lot. What I'm actually doing for my replacement shield right here is this guy. So I actually bought fractured tier 1 all res. I actually bought it specifically a lower item level. I could have gone for a higher item level, but I want it to be easier to hit the mods that I want to hit, right? The lower item level, the fewer mods in the pool. And then I'm just hitting this with bound fossils. I did about 20 bound fossils last night, and I didn't hit anything good. But ideally, right, I want to have basically the exact same mods that I hit on this one. I just want higher tier, specifically increased minion damage, and a little bit more res. Why not? So I'm going for the exact same shield, but just better mods. The gloves, very standard. What I did here is fractured spell suppression, and then I used Essence of Fear, which gives us that 30% increased minion damage. Did it until I hit some res, crafted life. Good to go. Same implicits as in the build guide, minion damage, spell suppression. Boots, basically same idea, fractured spell suppression. What I do is just buy tier 2, right? You don't need fractured tier 1. You can buy fractured tier 2 for much less. I think like 13% was 1 or 2 divines, and then 12% was like 20 chaos. Like the price just falls off a cliff if you just go down 1%. Just buy a cheaper one. I think I used Essence of Anger for guaranteed fire res right here until I hit dexterity, and then I used a wild bristle matron, the harvest craft, to guarantee giving myself suffixes can't be changed because there's full suffixes. And then I did a veiled chaos orb. I got the movement speed and onslaught. I don't want that. The onslaught is nothing, right? We always have onslaught. Ideally, we would have the 42% movement speed if you haven't been hit recently. And then action speed and life regenerate. You could replace the action speed with Carrion Golem buff effect, but I just really value the action speed, little bit, smoother play. This is a very, very fast build, actually. The Unset Ring, I bought this Fracture for less than 100 Chaos, Fracture +3, and then I just did Reforged Chaos because you can't use Essences on the ring here. Reforged Chaos until I hit triple res, Crafted Life, nothing crazy like that. And then the Bone Ring, you'll notice that I'm not using a Profane Proxy. That's entirely because I don't mind pressing an additional button. I get asked this a lot on stream. This is a situation where, if I'm going to recommend a build guide for other people, especially on max roll, beginner focused, most comfortable to play, I'm going to recommend the Profane Proxy. You're not losing that much for it. You have 100% curse uptime, particularly early on, right? Oh, also because we're curse immune, we don't need this mastery anymore. Before use the Garb of the Ephemeral, you can take the 40% reduced damage from crits right here and have 100% curse uptime with the Profane Proxy. You don't have to curse the enemies. Just very, very comfortable for a beginner player, right? Especially, or just people that don't want to press as many buttons. It's great, right? You're not leaving that much on the table. But if you want to push it a little bit further, especially if you want that minion res, keep them alive, if you want more attack speed, more damage, we can go for a Bone Ring. We also get more life for ourselves. We get more chaos res. Crafting up a Bone Ring like this is just going to be a little bit more comfortable, as long as you don't mind the mechanical downside of pressing an additional button. What we have here is actually 16%. People get confused here, and this is actually a scam that people get caught on all the time, is you buy Fractured 16%, you scour it, and then you can use the attack catalysts. You can also do caster because it has both those tags, but the cheaper one is the attack catalysts, and you quality that up, and then you go to 19% minion attack speed. Don't just search for Fractured 19% attack speed, because people can just buy the fractures, they catalyst it up, they relist it as a higher price. It's a very classic scam. Don't get caught by that. Set the max quality to 0% when you're searching. So right here, quality, set max to 0%. To make sure that you're not getting scammed. And then the last big change that I made here is I'm using a rare body armor. The reason why I did this, I'm very comfortable crafting, and I'm very comfortable in assessing my defense and playing around that and making adjustments. If I'm going to make a build guide that's beginner focused, that has, just slap on a unique item that drops price really, really quickly, right? You can very, very easily just grab a lightning coil that, is probably like 5 chaos right now. You can get a lightning coil for nothing right now, right? It is dirt cheap. Let's set the corruption to 0 right here. But yeah, people are just buying them and corrupting them to go for like +2 minion and stuff right now. For a default generic recommendation for a beginner build guide, I think the lightning coil is the right choice. Your res is a little bit harder to balance. 6-linking it's going to be a little annoying. Getting the colors is a little annoying. Also, I do have the notes. I will share this with you guys as well. There's going to be a lot of stuff in the build guide, but I'll share this with you guys below. But I have quick little instructions here for getting the right colors and 6-linking a lightning coil. However, if you want to take it in a little bit different direction, this is Fractured, again, tier 2 spell suppression. Then I did, I think, Essence of Envy until I hit Chaos and Cold Res. And then specifically, this is actually a very, very easy craft because we don't want life on the prefix. Better off would be if I had more evasion and energy shield. We're using the mastery right here, 15% increased max life if there are no life modifiers on the equipped body armor. So you very specifically don't want any life there, and then we just get 15% from the mastery here. And then the Gravicious body armor, unveiled from Gravicious, you can get the 6% fizz taken as fire and lightning. I don't have a perfect roll on it right now because I don't have the craft. I actually just bought that off of someone else. So ideally, right, you get 12% fizz taken as here. Then you can get another 14% here with the craft on the prefix. And then you're actually just really comfortable with your physical damage mitigation with the endurance charges and determination behind that. And then we want, while unique enemies in your presence, haste and non-curse aura effects have increased effect. We primarily care about boosting our damage and our auras when we're around difficult encounters. You want that on your body armor. So this is just a little bit different direction that you can go. The cool thing with this is it allows us to very easily cap our spell suppression. I'm at like 102 right now. What am I at? Yeah, I'm actually way over on my spell suppression. I'm at 116 to the point where I guess I could actually drop one of these. So I'm going to go shopping for a little explodey soon. That'll be fun. I actually didn't realize I was that high on my my spell suppression. And then the regular thing going for Ghastly Eye Jewels with increased flat damage if you used the minion skill recently, all that. The one thing I would say is lightning damage actually takes over as the best damage type to go for because we now have lucky lightning damage. So if you can get flat lightning damage on your jewels here, like this is going to be better for you. Fire is the weakest right now. Goes lightning, fizz, cold, then fire in terms of the order of what you would prefer. And they're all pretty close. They're all within like 10% value of each other. That's just what you want to prefer right there. Oh, and then the amulet, like I said a couple videos ago, I bought this fracture. Very, very lucky. I bought it ASAP at 6 divines. It's all about getting into that market. If you have 6 divines on Friday night or Saturday night, look for those fractures or those items that you know is going to go up. You know the price is going to go up significantly, right? I would not be surprised if this was up to 15, 20 divines at this point. Yeah, just looking, right? Like the price very, very quickly goes up. It's for an Onyx amulet, it's already almost 30 divines. In Amber, you can get for 15. It's just one of those things where, you know, first to market, the earlier that you get, the better. Still worth going for. The cool thing is the rest of the craft is very, very, very easy if you're not trying to do it at 5 a.m. and you're bleary-eyed and you don't know what you're doing. I had perfect suffixes on this. I think I had Chaos Res as well. I was like, oh, I'm going to go for the level of fire skill gems. Did the dumbest thing possible. I spent like 10 divines doing suffixes can't be changed, reforged fire to try to hit the plus fire skill gems. And then I did it for like 10 divines. I did it 5 times in a row. I was just like, this is so dumb. Why are you doing this? You know the right way to do it. We're all guilty of doing this sometimes, right? Just rage re-rolling. There's a deterministic way to hit plus level fire skill gems. Full suffixes and crafted fire damage to attacks, right here, fire to attacks. Craft this on your prefix. As long as there is an open prefix after that, you can then go to your harvest and do add remove fire. This will cost you 15,000 purple juice, which is not very expensive. It's like about 2 divines. Sacred crystallized life force, which was at time of recording about 100 chaos, I think. So for about 2.5 divines, you guarantee put on +1 level of all fire skill gems. It will add a mod. The only fire one left is fire skill gems, and then it'll remove a random mod. Unfortunately, it did remove the chaos res, and so I randomly exalted back on life per enemy killed, which is just really bad. But it's a very, very easy craft if you start from this fractured base. Effectively deterministic. Just craft the suffixes that you want, craft flat damage to attacks, do the add remove, and for about 3 divines after the fractured base, you're going to guarantee have a +1/+1. You might lose a mod that you care about, but if you have 3 suffixes that you like, you're going to be pretty good other than that. Okay, and that is all of the changes to the build that I've diverged from the build guide, that I've done just adjusting for the charms and the specters and the new stuff that we have. What's in the build guide will carry you through everything that you need, but if you want to kind of take it to the next level, if you don't mind some mechanical sacrifices, if you really, really want to push it, consider these options. I'm going to play this at least another week, I think, while I try to get inspired for another build, work on my challenges. I'll probably try to get really close to 40 out of 40 before switching to another build and, you know, experimenting with other stuff because I want to see how far I can push this. This build is absolutely great. I will be taking against Ubers. I know I'm just scared about it because of how much these specters cost. I don't want to lose them. I'm just going to try to put it through its paces. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go get ready for the stream after editing this video. Hope to see you guys there and have a good one. Bye-bye.